I've gotten to, I think we all kind of in some way feel that we know Buddy LaRosa, because we've, you know, eaten a lot of LaRosa's pizzas, and, you know, even if you don't know Buddy, you feel like you do, but I've kind of had the privilege to get to know him a little better over the last couple months, and sitting on the executive board for the Guns and Hoses event that's coming up here next week, and I'm sure Buddy will probably talk a little bit more about that in his presentation. But at this time, it's my honor to introduce Buddy LaRosa.
That's right.
Oh yeah, this little
competition. Friendly competitor.
There you go. Thanks, Brian.
I remember when I was like Don. It is Don.
Sean.
John?
Sean.
I can't hear. John. I was like you at one time, and I always looked up to the guys that were more experienced and were fairly successful, and you always can learn something. I'm happy that you're here, and I'm always here to help. I mean, if ever there's any, I won't give you no recipes now. I can help you at any time, equipment, or you got a problem. I don't lend money either. I got to deal with the bank. They don't make pizza, and I don't lend money. Anyway, Chief Hines, Mayor Castro.
You're Italian?
We always shorten them names.
Molly Castro.
My real name is Sebastiano.
Oh.
I went under Buddy, and then I went under Donald, and it stuck, you know. But anyway, I want to thank you for inviting me out here tonight. I am a frequent visitor here. Go to the movies. Well, that's my generation. We went to the movies. We didn't have TV. It was a radio, and maybe once a week we got to go to the movies on a Sunday or a Saturday afternoon. And I always liked to go to the Mariemont and then maybe have dinner at the nice restaurant over there at the Exemplar. Very nice. So anyway, I want to thank you for your invitation, and if I get a little too long and you have to get up and leave, just go ahead. I won't care, you know. This is my second talk today. I feel like the judge, you know. I was over in the Montgomery area at the Women's Club over there. And anyway, that was this morning. Now I'm here this evening. So, you know, serving others has always been a passion of mine, and I always got so much more out of it. Because when I serve others, I'm really serving myself. And I always look at service as a team sport in any business. You could have, I don't care what you're selling, if it's a service or a product, sometimes the only thing different is the service and the care that you put along with that product. So I always looked at that as a team sport, and we don't go through life alone. You know, success in life is a result of a lot of people that touched our lives, that we learned from and were influenced from. The team I got my experience from started at home with Mom and Dad. And my older brothers and sisters, I felt like Cinderella, really, I did. I had to take care of the animals, would you believe? In the city of Cincinnati, we had chickens, we had goats, we had rabbits. Nobody complained, well, because they all were Italians all around, they did the same thing. But anyway, we learned from our parents, teachers, coaches, friends, neighbors. And my wife Joanne and I grew up on the west side of Cincinnati in the 30s on Queen City Avenue. It was a small Italian community. We had our church over there. It seemed like there were two other Italian communities. One was downtown. That's where my dad's people were from. They lived down in the bottoms. That's where the banks are today. Most of the people from the Mediterranean, Jimmy Simon, the Lebanese and Syrians and Middle Eastern people, and Sicilians. My dad was Sicilian. Don't hold it against me, because I am influenced more by my mother's people. My mother's people didn't like my father's people, and they were both Italian, but he was Sicilian. Why I don't like him, I don't know. I guess you see all these stories in the movies and everything that they're the mafia and all that stuff. Maybe that's the reason. But Dad never had as much as a traffic ticket. He had a lot of fights, though, and he was a boxer and a truck driver, and he had a little store down on Elder Street. And he had market days. He sold potatoes. He said, you'll always make a living in this town selling potatoes. He said between the Irish and the German, that's all they want is potatoes. So anyway, we had our Italian way of life was different than our American friends. We called everybody else Americans, you know. But our life was different. We had a fresh loaf of Italian bread delivered every day from our local bakery, and he would stick it in the screen door all the time. Everybody had a screen door, and he would open the screen door and put that loaf of bread there. We had a fruit and vegetable man. In the wintertime, we had a coal man that came around, because we all had stoves that were partially gas, but they had coal too. And in some of the bedrooms, we had little coal stoves too. And we had a knife and a scissor sharpener that would come to the neighborhood. An umbrella man that when he would walk up and down the street, he had an umbrella, I mean a bell that he would ring. And you got your umbrellas repaired. You didn't throw anything away and buy new like they do today. And those umbrellas they got today, you open them up in a windstorm and they're gone, you know. But anyway, everything was better. We had a Western and Southern insurance agent that came around in our neighborhood. They called them debits back in those days. Anybody here sold insurance or anything? No. Well, anyway, Mr. Cook was our agent, and Mom and Dad took out an endowment policy for my college education. And it was a $400 policy, and he would come around and collect on that, and a few of the other brothers and everybody had some, maybe had a little life insurance or something. I don't really know, but I know we always came at supper time, and there always was an empty chair, and they always would ask Cookie, would you like, sure, he always sat down and ate, you know, and that was, you know, always a ritual. Whenever Cookie was in the neighborhood, he always had dinner with us. There were some cultural changes, language differences between us and our non-Italian neighbors, but we always try to fit in. A little difficult at times, but we always persevered and found a way. Now, there were some other differences between us and our neighbors. We had vegetable gardens. Like I said before, we had animals. I even had homing pigeons. And the gardens were used. We grew tomatoes, and every fall they would cook them and jar them and to carry through the winter. They also had other vegetables, lettuce and zucchini and squash and things. And they always made wine in the fall, around August, as I remember. But it was really a ritual. The neighbors would all the men would kind of help each other. I could still see them. It was always kind of a ritual in the fall when they would, I guess it was a good excuse to tie them on and drink a little more than usual. Might as well drink the old wine, because we're making new, but you can't drink it right away. It's got to set for a while. And God forbid, if the sun wasn't just so, I don't know what it was, that Grandpa would get upset because all the wine turned to vinegar. If the sun just wasn't right, I don't know what power the sun had on it. I don't think Grandpa really knew. He just did that for an excuse. He blamed the sun. Or the moon. It was the moon, I'm sorry. Anyway, and one of the reasons we thrived so well, we always had something different than our American friends had. They had grandfathers, but theirs didn't live with them. We always had a grandparent or some member of the family. Well, there weren't rest homes. I remember Mom talking about the poorhouse a lot. She didn't want to go to the poorhouse, but they didn't have rest homes or retirements. They all moved in with their kids, and Grandpa was with us, you know, and God forbid if I didn't have to spend time with him in the garden, or else telling me stories about when he came over here on the big boat with my dad, and they came over and got situated in living and got jobs, and then sent for the other family to come over. Now, as I grow older and I reflect back on all the family and educational values I received, I held fast and cherished the values I learned over the years. And you struggle. We all struggle in our early career. And I'm sure most everyone here in this room at some level of your life, you've struggled. And I had no time to really realize that I always was so busy just trying to survive. It seemed like I always had a job from the time I was just a little kid. You know, always had work to do around the house. And then I would get a job maybe at the Haine grocery store. I worked there, and I worked in the bakeries. Little odds and ends, but today kids don't have that luxury because they have to wait till they're 16, and by that time they don't want to work. And then, you know, the government interferes with child labor. Well, it doesn't hurt a kid to learn how to work. And today, that's one of the the things that's really missing. Now, during the last few years of my life, I kind of think of the things that I really believe in and I recommend to other young people when I speak today, and I'm always, well, I don't do much else, I guess. I go out on a lecture series, I guess because my honorarium, I work cheap. Nothing, you know? And my wife would say, who would want to pay to hear you talk anyway? Or she's not here to defend herself, God rest her soul. But that's what worked well for me, and I saw this when I was very young, and I followed a simple program I set for myself, and believe me, I had many jobs. When I was a kid, in addition to working around the house and everything, I still had time to deliver papers. Anybody remember Liberty magazines or Saturday Evening Post? Well, sold them in addition to the magazines. And when you got a bag of papers over here, posts over here, that was the Cincinnati Post, which is history now. And then you had the Time Star over here. One was a Democrat and one was a Republican paper. And then the Enquirer, I didn't deliver those. I just delivered the afternoon or evening papers. Well, you carry them from the time you're 10 or 12 years old until you're 15 or so. I never grew. I always got my papers, you know, and you fold them up and you throw them. You fold them up and you throw them. And, but they taught you how to work, you know. And to me, it's a science. I'm 85 and I still get up every day at 6 in the morning, but I don't go to the kitchen. I go to the gym. And I kind of get on the scale, make sure my weight's just so, then I might get up to the restaurant about 10 o'clock when the mail comes in, and I see if anything that I got in the mail, and then I kind of keep out of the way, talk to some of my associates, see how their family is, and whatever I can do to make it. It's a family. We're at our workplace more than they are at home with their family. Every day they're there for 8 hours. And you want it to be a happy time for them, and you want to have them know that we care about them, and make it a pleasant place. My people get up and they walk out, say, where's so-and-so? Hey, they go to the doctor today. Oh, okay, they got their work done. They don't have to get permission. You know, years ago, you had to get your doctor's appointments on Saturday or on a different time, not when you work. But, you know, today, it's a different age. And if you want to have great people, you have to kind of bend a lot. You know, I had all these jobs with papers, and I worked in butcher shops and grocery stores. I drove a truck when I was just 15. Of course, I had a cousin. When you're Italian, I don't know how some of the other ethnic people do, but the firstborn male of every son has to be named after the grandfather, okay? So there were 4 Sebastianos in our family. And God forbid if one of them had bad credit, and you wanted to buy something, and they put your name in, they turn you down. Wait a minute, that's my cousin. Yeah, we heard that before. So I changed my name to Donald, okay? And then Buddy just kind of come from somewhere, and it kind of stuck. But after all those jobs, I wanted a real job. So I went to, at high school, I went to Roger Bacon High School and in St. Bernard, and lived over on the west side. Well, that's like 20 miles, I guess, and we didn't have a car. We depended on public transportation. So we had a wonderful streetcar system. You could go from one end of town to the other for a dime, get a transfer. They spend millions of dollars, and they still aren't going to have that thing downtown working. That's going to be a fiasco. But I get up at 6 in the morning. I got the 19. I had to walk a half a mile to get to that car line. We call them car lines. Then I rode the 19 to underneath the Western Hills Viaduct and exchanged to the 27. It was across town. Then I went over to McMillan and Vine, and I got a 78. It was a Lachlan car. It went all the way out past the zoo, all the way up to St. Bernard. I had to get there by 8:15. So get up at 6 o'clock. And so you made connections and everything, and if you were late, you got jugged. You know what jug was, huh? You stayed after school, and you had to work math cards. That's why I was so good at math all the time, because I stayed after school working on math problems. But, you know, corporate America, that's what I want to do. I want to get a real job. My dad said, well, why don't you get a job with the gas and electric company this summer? He called up one of his friends that worked at the gas company. So Dad got me a job with, I think he did it intentionally, because they gave me a pick and a shovel and told me to start digging, you know. And I was a laborer putting in lines with the gas and electric company. The only thing good about that, when it rained, you didn't have to work in the rain. You got to go sit in the truck until it stopped raining. I was glad when that summer was over, though. But I did learn something, you know. I did learn what physical labor was. Then I got a job when I was got out of school. I got a job at the Andrew Jurgens Company. I started as an office boy, and then I saw a promotion or opportunity in the sales department. So I asked they called it personnel then, it's human resources today. And Mrs. Ray Penn said, sure, buddy, you've been here for 6 months. We all know you. I was a mail boy going around the offices. So they let me get into the sales department. And I was doing pretty good. They gave me a territorial and was 19. And then when the Korean War started, I said, I'm going to join the Navy. So I joined the Navy. That was the best thing I ever did. Got me away from all the jobs, the family, my brothers and everything, and I got to see the world. And I was in Great Lakes, and then I went to Bainbridge, Maryland. I was a corpsman. They made a nurse out of me. Of course, you can be a nurse in the Navy and treat people, but you can't do it in the civilian life. But anyway, I was stationed in Philadelphia Naval Hospital, and that's where I got my, I guess, introduction to real Italians. We're not real Italians here, Mayor. The real Italians are a beast in Philly and, you know, up in New York City and some of those places. So when I saw the pizza and I went to the churches up there on my liberties, I got an education. We're nothing but, I respect everybody. And my dad always said we were Italian hillbillies. And I didn't know what he was talking about until I went to Italy and visited where we were from. We were down, like, way down in the eastern Kentucky in mountains, and the only thing we didn't have coal mines, you know. But that's why they all wanted to come over here. They couldn't grow nothing. There was nothing but rocks. And I don't know how they even had an existence. I don't know how they made a living. But anyway, that's where I got my education in food. And I said, when I get out of the Navy, I'm going to open up a pizza parlor. So when I learned so many valuable lessons in each job I had, and I must have had 30 different jobs. If I told you all of them, I'd be here till 10 o'clock at night. Some I only had one day. I'm going to be an expediter. I'm going to wear a suit. I'm going to go in and, you know, look like, isn't that crazy? I want to sit at the desk. I thought, boy, that's the kind of job I want. So Burton Rogers, it was an advertising display company. I went in there with my suit and tie. I said to the man, Mr. Rogers, where's my office at? You don't get no office. I said, no, he said, you're an expediter. You got to go to get these orders, and we're making models for these various companies. And this might be in the paint shop. The other one might be in the electric shop. Just sitting there, and you got to move it on to the next phase. You can't have no coat on. Take it off, because you got to work. You got to move around. Okay, I took my coat off. I got short sleeves. I don't mind working. So he said, oh, by the way, now, when you're done there, go down to the loading dock. I said, what for? He said, well, this truck comes in, you got to unload the truck too. Well, I'm used to working. I went down there and looked at the truck. Them trucks had barrels on as big as me. I said, how am I going to unload those? He said, just tilt them and roll them. I said, tell you what, I only weighed 130 pounds. I know they weighed 500 pounds. I said, tell you what, I was here 4 hours. Keep my pay, give it to St. Vincent de Paul. I quit. And I walked out. That's the only job I ever quit. But you have to look out for yourself, or they'll kill you or take advantage of you. But I really discovered my destiny in South Philly. There were pizza parlors on every corner. You know, bakeries, Italian delis. And every weekend I'd go up there, where I was visiting and tasting and, you know, making notes. And then when I got out of the Navy in 1953, I joined in 49, I guess, a year after I got out of high school. I got a job at the post office, because your military time counts. So a lot of my friends worked there at night, but I had to take an oath I wouldn't tell anybody what they told me. Go to nighttime, get on the night shift, because we all sleep from 2 to 5. Everybody sleeps in the parcel post department. And he said, that's what you do, and then you get another job during the day. And that's what everybody did on that night shift, but don't tell anybody. Of course, everybody knew it after a period of time. It wasn't a very well-kept secret, and but they still do, I'm sure. But anyway, I had this idea to open up my pizza parlor, but then I really didn't go into it real hard until we had a festival at our Italian church, and my aunt was going to put in, she had the best recipe, she was the best cook in the family, and she was going to run the pizza booth. So I thought, gee, this would be a good idea for me to go down there and help them, you know, and see how if all the American people like it. And it was a great success. So that was my focus group. That was my introduction to say, now this is what I want to do. But I didn't have any money. I had, what, $50? Oh, that insurance policy that Mom and Dad took out for me to be a college education. I didn't go to college, by the way. Don't hold that against me. But when kids would say, Mr. LaRosa, where did you go to school? Where'd you go to? I went to Roger Bacon, but I think I got the equivalent of a college education there. Believe me, I really did. Because I always, whenever I would get a job and I'd fill out the application, when I got in the Navy, they wanted to know how I knew some of the things that I answered. I said, well, I learned in high school. What kind of high school did you go to? I said, I went to a Franciscan high school. Well, then I had to give them a whole explanation what that was. But when I'm talking so fast here, when I got, what was I talking about? What the hell was I talking about?
Pizza at the festival.
Pizza at the festival.
Pizza
Oh, the pizza, yeah, the $400.
Yeah.
I need money, down payment, okay, on a pizza oven, and I found a building up on Boudinot Avenue for $100 a month. So I said, Mom, I need this money. You're gonna have to, when Cookie comes around, sign for me. It was in her name, beneficiary. Oh no, that's your college. Oh, Mom, I'm married. I got 2 kids. One was on the way. You know, 2 and 1 on the way. We lived in a 2-room flat down in the Italian neighborhood. I had 39 4-door Plymouth. Why 4 doors? Because during the week I could take the back seats out and use it for a truck when I go to market and everything, see? And then we go to church on Sunday, I put the seats back in there. And Joanne would get in the car with the kids and she'd say, will you please clean this car out? It smells like, you know, a fruit and vegetable truck. And I said, well, okay. So I, you know, did that. But, you know, everything had to be makeshift, make it do it the hard way. But you persevere and you don't quit. I didn't have any real business training other than all those jobs I had. I never had a market research and a big business plan. I just had a idea, and I had good product because my aunt had the best pizza in the neighborhood, and she gave me her recipe. And I had that $400 from the college fund that Mom and Dad took out for me. But I was rich in other qualities that we all have, the intangibles, you know, the desire, the passion, you know, the sprinting to the finish line and serving people, having a smile on your face and going out of your way for people. It didn't cost anything. That was the free part, and that's the part that people say, gee, that's a nice fella. He's, you know, walks you out to the car. If it's raining, I went out with an umbrella. I helped them out to the car. I still do it. If I see people coming out of if I'm in the area and they're walking out with boxes, I run out and I tell them who I am. They think I'm, you know, maybe a nut. I said, Mr. LaRosa, oh yeah, I know you, buddy. I said, you mind me if I open the car here for you and help you? Always go out and reach to help people. Always assist them. It's like, and that's like show business, your business. Every day's opening day. It's not what you did yesterday, next week. I've been in business 60 years, and I haven't changed one bit. I still have those same habits of reaching out to customers and really taking an interest in them and have them have a good experience and not spend a lot of money for the food. Give them quality, give them a value, and you come in my restaurant and you're going to pay under $10 for a good meal, whatever it is. If you see a restaurant guy that's got cufflinks, long sleeves like Ruby, you're going to pay $100 a person. And he won't even say thank you. But that's okay, we're friends. But we're just different operators. We're just different operators. You know, you got to have balance in your life, John. You know, how long you been in business now, John?
2 weeks.
Sean.
Oh,
What?
2 weeks.
All right. You got to have balance in your life. You got to consider. You single?
Yes, sir.
Well, that's a blessing. You got to balance family, your faith, very important. Your religion, not too much social, a little social commitment. You got to get out and meet people, let them know where you are. Community commitments. You have to make a lot of sacrifices. You can't have your cake and eat it too. Somebody said, buddy, we're going to golf next week. Want to go? I said, no, I don't golf. I have to tell them I got a bad shoulder. I rolled so many pizza pies in my day, I got arthritis. I can't lift my arms up this high. So I don't golf. I don't really have any. Boxing's my hobby. Okay, my dad was a boxer. I boxed, and it's a sport where you keep fit, and you can teach that to the younger kids, because when you leave the gym after a 2-hour workout, you can't wait to go home and go to bed. Whereas these other kids, after they do their homework, they play baseball or something, then they go out in the street and they stay out late. Maybe they get into trouble, and that's what happens. Idleness is still the devil's workshop. So boxing kept me between boxing and school, boxing and work. Even to this day, like I say, I go to the gym early in the morning. And when I got married, I weighed 145 pounds. I weighed this morning when I got in the gym, I gained a little weight. I weighed 150. So I gained a little weight. But my trousers and everything, I don't have to buy any clothes. The wife said, why don't you get rid of those old things? You know, I said, they fit, why should I get rid of them? You know, I'm not, I don't think I look that bad. So anyway, the first pizzeria I opened up was in '54. I started franchising in '61. Take your time. You have a franchise for Mio's? Okay. How many stores does he have?
9.
Okay. Well, is that the same fellow that started with his wife? You don't know.
I can talk to you after if you want.
Okay, no, the reason I say, because I'm the kind of competitor, if I can help a guy, I help him. Because when I wanted to get help, they run the hell out of me. Get out of here. You're spying. Hey, I only wanted to know what kind of refrigeration you used. I wanted to know what kind of an oven you use. That's not secret. You know, if I can help somebody to save time and money, that's what I want to do. Rather than sulk and see somebody waste money and lose money, I want to help them. I don't want to do that. I really do. So we opened our second one in '61, and now, from that $400, only in America, we got 75 operations in 3 states. We're opening now in Knoxville, Tennessee, in about 6 weeks. We have a computer center. You got my number.
yeah.
What is it?
347.
There you go, Chief. And we have a distribution network. I teamed up with Phil Weta up in Monroe, Ohio. He sells. You make your own dough, though, don't you? Good. Because if you bought it from Phil Weta, you'd be buying my dough. Because I make his dough for him, but his recipe. And I signed a disclosure that I won't give his recipe to anybody, because that's a lot of work, you know. And I got a pizza factory, you know. And that's why I live in Price Hill and not Indian Hill, really. All the money's in the business, you know. And it takes a lot of money to operate a business. You know, you used to be, you could open up well, we got a little one up there right next to you.
Yeah.
You know the fella up there? Did you meet him?
I haven't met him yet.
Well, he's been with me since he was in high school. And this is what I like to do. I like to get a young man like you. You're already set now. You got your thing now. You just go and do your thing, okay? But if he didn't, I'd give him a job and have him work for me. And then after a year or 2 or 3, he'd like to have his own business. Okay, well, here's a store over here you can have. This family, they had a franchise, and at the second generation, didn't really like the restaurant business, so I have a buy and sell agreement where I get them back again, okay? Because I don't want them to sell it out in the open market. I want it. Then I'll take a young man like that that's worked for me for 6, 7 years, put him in there where he don't have to put up any money. He has to sign, and then I don't make any money on him. I'm just getting a good operator. and then help him to have his own business. I have about half a dozen young men like that, and then maybe they'll get a second location or a third location. But just take your time with one. You got to crawl before you walk, okay? Don't think, well, I got this going good. If I open one over here, and you can't feed everybody. I can't serve everybody. There's always a niche, always a niche. And I wish you luck too. We have this distribution network. We can go within 350 miles of Cincinnati. Initially, I thought I could do it all myself. I'm going to have my own distribution network. What happens? Then you got to carry accounts, okay? And I'm a bad guy to collect money. When a guy owes me money, if I was as big as you, Mr. Nicolacci, I wouldn't have any trouble. You go in there, a guy owes you money, and he's got a new car. He can't pay you, but he bought a new car. You know, and you see that in business. They figure, oh, well, but he's got plenty of money. He can carry the account. But it's very important that, you know, you have to, it's a weekly business. You sell your products before you pay for them. What you buy on Monday, you should pay on the following Monday. You know, 7 days. If you can't pay your bills on a weekly basis, then you're living too high, or you've got some too much expense. But anyway, not to say all the places where we sell our product at, we're at the ballpark. Anybody get any free pizza when they get 11 strikeouts? Don't know about, oh, you get some, okay, all right. Now, no disrespect to the United Dairy Farmer, but they used to give a dip of ice cream whenever, but they stopped. But we didn't stop. We still do that. The only thing is we don't honor the pizza redeemed that day. They got to come in the next day, because what they were doing is running to the stores right after the game, and you're doing a Monday or Tuesday night whenever they would play. We don't have that much help on. You know, if 50 people would come in a night at one time, and you're on there by yourself, or 2 people are on, you can't take care of them. So now we honor them the next day. So that's helped that out. You know, you all know who Vince Lombardi was?
Yeah.
Well, I met the man. I had the good privilege of listening to him make his last speech up in Dayton, Ohio at a paper company, Mead Paper Company. And after his speech, I went back and met him. That's where I met him. And took the time to talk to me. Well, maybe because I was Italian, I don't know. But he gave me a signed picture, and what I really wanted was a copy of his speech. He said he'll send it to me, so I gave him my card. He said, now, if you duplicate it, don't sell it. I said, I told him I wanted to, I resonated everything he said. I related to him, and I said, I want to maybe hand it out to other young people. There's no secret to success. It's something you do each and every day. It's hard work, it's dedication. It's not like hitting the lottery. So anyway, he did that for me. And you know, successful people, they're all leaders. You know, and leaders got the ability not only to lead, but to direct people. There's some people I wouldn't want to follow. I mean, because I know they're not leaders. They think they're leaders, but you know who's a leader. And those are the kind of people I want to be with. People that have achieved and they know what they're doing. Because there's a lot of people that don't. But Mr. Lombardi, he was a wonderful man. You know, my greatest assets are my people that work together with me. And it's all about a team. It takes great people to build great organizations. And there's no I in team. It's all about we and us and our. Nobody is successful alone. It's a team sport. I got my education, like I say, very simple. Did I tell you I went to the University of Adversity? I majored in hard knocks. School colors were black and blue.
Oh, yeah.
And I learned a few, you know, little proverbs over the years that each and every day they never go out of style. Mens sana in corpore sano. It's a Latin for keep your mind strong and your body in tune. So you can, you know, tie your shoestrings. I can't reach the top shelf at Kroger's though. I got to ask somebody taller than me, Bob. Can you get that box of Wheaties for me, you know? Just, you know, the good Lord from all that hard work and everything, I never grew. But other than that, I can keep my own with just about anybody. Another thing is, IJ quod agis, is do what you do. If you're going to work, then work. And do it 125% of your attention. Don't try to work and then watch television or work and do something. Just work. And if you're going to play and then do something in recreation, then don't try to do anything else. Get the most out of what you're doing. If you're going to be eating, then take your time. My mom used to say, chew your food 26 times. Whoever started that? Chew your food 26 times. I don't know where that ever came from. But, you know, if you're going to eat, enjoy your food. Don't have the television on or try to read and eat. You know, get the most out of what you're doing. And then my favorite slogan is good, better, best. Never leave it rest till your good is better and your better best. Each day, I want to be better than I was yesterday. Not to make more money. If it was about making money, I wouldn't live in Price Hill. I would live in Indian Hill. I live in East Price Hill. I don't even live in West Price Hill. You know, but it's not where you live, it's how you live. You grew up with respect, and you treat everybody with respect. And it's not about, money is never my God. And of course, I don't have that much because I don't want it. I give it away. Matter of fact, the most successful estate planning is to die broke. And the last check you wrote, or they write, estate to the undertaker, bounces. That's successful estate planning. The Palazola family, I worked for them. They had a wholesale grocery down on Gilbert Avenue. They were big in the Italian neighborhood. They had a macaroni factory. They had a wine distributorship. Antonio Palazola and Sons. I don't know if you ever heard of them years ago. And I worked down there for a while. And Mr. Palazola, he had Hyde Park, he had theaters, owned the shopping mall there. Well, his son did that. He was already dead. He dropped dead at 61 years old and didn't have his estate in order. And you know who got all his estate? They had to sell everything to pay the taxes. And there were 5 sons. And it broke up the family. Mr. Pete was the only one that stayed in the business, and the other ones just, you know, took off or did something else. All his hard work and everything, but he held on to everything and was, you know, going to be very wealthy. But, you know, you meet a lot of people like, I remember, God rest his soul, Mr. Linder. Always a down-to-earth man. I spent many times with him, you know, and he always would tell me, he said, the only extravagance I got, buddy, that's what he told me. I like to drive a nice car. I guess Rolls Royce, Bentley. I didn't know he had a place down in Ocean Wells, Florida. You know, I thought maybe, but not a braggart, just a good man. And he saw something in me. I don't know what it was, but he gave me a lot of good pointers in life. God rest his soul. Good man. Be a long time before we get another guy like him. Anyway, John, always sprint to the finish line. And remember, when you serve others, you serve yourself. And never give up. Never give up. If you believe, that's all it takes. Just believe and just keep. That's what boxing's good. You know, you get knocked down, you get back up again. You get knocked down again. After a while, you're glad when the bell rings, but just never quit. Just keep punching. Good luck to you.
Buddy?
Yes, sir.
Come on over here.
Oh, boy.
I want to thank Buddy for coming in, and I also want to say, Buddy, my wife's been telling me for 15 years to get rid of this sweatshirt. And like you, I'm not a slave to fashion, so. I want to give you this key to the village of Mariemont.
Well, thank
we really
you.
appreciate you coming. Did you get it?
You know, another job I had when I was at, oh gosh, Commercial Solvents, okay? That's where I quit the job with the barrels. There was they had a drug division, a guy named Forrest Alexander. He lived out here in Mariemont. Did you ever hear of Forrest Alexander? Was a nice man. He talked to me, buddy, why don't you stay on here? I says, I have to that's my job, handling those barrels. I said, it'll kill me. If you want to transfer me to your division, he said, no, I'm the only one in the division. But anyway, it was a pleasure knowing you, Forrest. And occasionally I would call up and talk to his widow and just say hello to her and tell her what a fine man. I only met him one day, but he made me feel good, made me feel comfortable. That's another thing, always make people feel comfortable. You know, some people are snobs, you know, they want to make you feel uncomfortable. I wore a tie tonight because I thought I'm going to Mariemont. First guy, wait a minute now, first guy I met in the parking lot, Bob here, I said, boy, I'm glad I wore a tie. And then when I come in here and I see Cuz over here in sweats, and my other cousin over here, Nicolachi, in sweats, I said, well, I overdressed. But really, you know, I think it's nice when people make you feel friendly and at home and, you know, relaxed. There's other people who make you feel uncomfortable. If everybody didn't have a tie on here, I mean, today, I'd take mine off. I wouldn't let them see me. I took my jacket off. I wasn't going to stand up here with a coat on, you know. So, any questions? I answer questions.
Buddy, did you want to say anything about the guns and hoses?
Oh, yes.
Talk about that at all?
Where I met Chief Hines. The first responders to fires and crime, you know, these men, the firefighters and the police officers, they lay their life on the line to serve us and protect us. In other cities, they have boxing matches where the police officers and the firefighters have a boxing exhibition to raise money for the widow and orphans funds. So we thought we would do it this year, and we talked to the casino, and if they would give us the venue, that we wouldn't have to rent a venue, and they offered to give us a cocktail party for the people that bought tables, and we went around and sold tables to big companies like Telephone Company and United Dairy Farmer, LaRosa, and whatever. So we already raised about $60,000 or $70,000 just selling tables, not selling tickets yet. Well, you don't have to pay any talent fee to the firefighters and the police officers. They're going to beat the hell out of each other for nothing. And they've been down in our gym. I have a big gym down in over the Rhine where the market house is on Ray Street, and then across the street there used to be an old A&P supermarket, and now it's our Daily Bread. It's like a drop-in center, and we're in back of it in a recreation center that the city owns. They call it the Hub. And I always had a boxing gym in the city, in the West End primarily, in the black neighborhood, because most of these kids don't have traditional families, and boxing's a family. And I represent a father figure, maybe a grandpa figure, and the coaches. And there's authority in there, there's respect, there's discipline. We have a little control over their lessons in school. If they don't maintain a 2.5, they can't be in the program. And if they're in a program where they get to travel, we just send 7 young men under 16, chaperoned with 2 trainers, out to California for a tournament with the Police Athletic League. You heard of the FOP. Well, the FOP don't have a boxing league, but the Police Athletic League has boxing, and they're similar organizations with law enforcement. So we are sanctioned by the POW. So whenever they have a tournament, a whole team would be 11 boxers. Well, we only had 7 that would qualify, that could hold their own, and they're pretty good little guys. They've been boxing since they're 8 years old, and they're like 12 and 14. Sent 7 out, and I didn't really know the results until they came back. And out of 7, 1 won a gold, 2 won silver, came in second, and 4 won a prize. So they all medaled. And we had a little party for them, naturally, pizza and soft drinks and whatever. And we had a drug meeting that night, anti-drug meeting, and acknowledge these little kids. And they don't get much attention at home. Some of them don't even have a father at home. And boxing is what they can't wait to come to the gym. And one of them called me Mr. Ponderosa years ago. He knew I was in the restaurant business, and the other was Ponderosa Steakhouse. And every once in a while, one of them I say, now what do you want to be when you get big? And I don't want to hear a football player, basketball player, or champion of the world. What do you be in life? You know, doctor, lawyer, whatever. And one little boy said, I won't be like you, Miss LaRosa, and be an entrepreneur. Then I said, well, I'm doing something right, you know. And when they leave the gym, they're too tired to get into trouble. They can't wait to get home and go to bed. And we ask them if they have eaten, have you eaten today? And if they haven't eaten, we usually got some smoothies or something to give them after they work out, so they don't go home on an empty stomach. But this guns and hoses thing, the firefighters and the police officers are training in our gym. And we got this huge gym that used to be a big swimming pool, bigger than this building. It was like 60 by 40, okay? In the city of Cincinnati, I'm going to do a little criticizing here, the recreation department. When I outgrew a building up in Mount Auburn, where the Taft Elementary is, I was in a building about this size right here, and I had like almost 100 kids in there with equipment and everything. I mean, it was just too small. And they were expanding the school, the Taft Elementary. They needed the room. So I said, well, what do you want me to do? Just forget about the program? Because I'm not going to go, bad enough, I raised money for the program. I don't want to pay rent and gas and electric and all those utilities. Well, we'll get you a building, buddy. Because I bring numbers for them. When they go to council and everything, they want to know how many people they're serving. Well, every time a young man comes in the box, they sign in. Well, you got 100 a day, average 100 a day. That's a lot of activity. 100 a day don't come in to play basketball or to swim, but you know what they told me with the swimming pool? They said, just fill it in. I said, what, with water? He says, no, with dirt. And we can't do it for you. We don't have no money. They don't have money to operate a swimming pool, but they give me the building, and then I called a couple friends of mine, Messer and Baxter Concrete, and they filled it up for me. And the pool's gone. But in the basement is all the heaters, filters. I said, what are you going to do with that? I said, I don't know. Just down there, they built a new pool out in Westwood. All new. You think they would salvage it? No. Go to the taxpayers. You got to be glad you don't live in the city of Cincinnati. I'm sounding like a heretic, but I've lived in the city all my life down there.
It's changed. So what's the date on the event?
What?
What is
20.
the date?
October the 22nd.
Okay.
That's next Wednesday.
Okay.
And you're going to have like 22 or 23 bouts.
23 balls.
And if it wasn't for, you know, like the, is this a township or a city?
Mariemont. It's a village.
Village, I'm sorry.
City.
If it wasn't for a few villages, Wyoming and here, and they got the interest, enthusiasm right away, then it's just like a kid, when they got a toy and you don't want to play with it, and somebody else wants it, then he wants it. Then when they saw all the other villages coming in to participate, we said, well, the heck with you guys. We got enough. A couple people over in northern Kentucky. It's for the first responders. They don't have to be just from Cincinnati. Southwest Ohio or northern Kentucky. So we got a great response now. And 22 bouts. And there's only one man that boxed for me. His name is Fritch. And we had to be careful who we matched him with, because we don't want to get anybody hurt, you know. And there was an FBI guy that's coming in, and he had some boxing experience. It would be fun, you know. And I think the tickets are, I think like $35 maybe. And all the proceeds, like I say, goes to Widows and Orphans Fund. Any other questions? Yes?
I just want to say, my son and daughter both worked for LaRosa's
While they were in school?
while they were in school.
Yeah, those are great jobs.
It was.
Matter of fact, sometimes I think I'm running a school in my phone center or a retirement center. There are people that are retired, and those are my best employees, retirees, and kids that, you know, they're paying tuition, and they're only going to be here a short period of time. But then I get through and get to know the young people. What school you go to? What are you majoring in? When I hear not anything professional, just business, then I keep my eye on them. And one day I said, well, you're going to be graduating now. You got any interviews coming up? Says, I'm trying to get some. I says, well, how about one upstairs? Really? So I called my office manager, said, interview this kid. He's been downstairs 4 years, got a good record. Next thing you know, we get him in, and I got maybe 10 or 12 of them that started when they were kids, and then I promote from within. I had a accountant retire. He'd been with me for 30 years. Well, the next in line was a young woman, did most of his work, but I mean, I knew it. So when he retired, they said, buddy, you gonna put an ad in the paper? I said, no, Sue's gonna get the job. She's been here doing his work for all these years. Some of these men, if it wasn't for the women, you know, they take advantage of.
So how many employees? How many employees now?
3,000,
Oh, my
Wow.
God.
That's very good.
and we're self-insured.
Fabulous.
So, of course, Obamacare is going to just bankrupt a lot of small people. We don't want to talk about politics.
No.
Thanks for coming.
Yes, sir.
I want to talk about two things. One was a blessing and the other is a question.
A blessing?
A blessing, I had an Italian friend named Vince Michello, and he lived down the street from me. 3 generations lived in the basement of this house on Terrace Avenue in Clifton.
That sounds familiar.
And they kept the upstairs immaculate, gorgeous furniture and paintings.
Did you eat in the basement? They cooked
Everything in the
That's
basement.
right.
And a friend of mine bought this house, but
Yeah.
Wednesday was pasta day.
Ours was Thursday.
Okay, and they would spend the day making all the different
From
pies.
scratch. Right.
And I would help, being a German kid, you know, I don't mind working. And then I got to eat, and there was never food like that in my home. I can
Oh, yeah.
tell you.
Well,
It was,
those kind of people are gone now, you know.
but the way they cared for their family was what
And
really
they-
impressed me.
Some elderly member always lived there, and if it was a 2 or 3 family building, brothers and sisters, they all lived in with their families. And
Oh, yeah,
it was
that's what this was.
a nice time. That was a great time. Anybody else? Yes.
Buddy, I was gonna ask you, going back to your boxing thing.
Yes, sir.
Have you ever had occasion to come across Aaron Pryor?
I trained him, managed him.
I know you did.
Yeah.
But I mean.
Oh yeah, every month he calls, he needs $40 or $50 or $60. He made millions of dollars, and they don't listen to you when they're making the money. And now he's, you know, he's on disability. If it wasn't for disability and SSI, half of them wouldn't exist. That's another thing.
He was quite a boxer though when he was.
How you been? Don't I know you?
Dick Wendell.
Don't I know you,
Yeah,
Dick?
we met before, buddy, sure. I was glad to hear that you stayed in Price Hill, just like Jack Schiff, as opposed to Linders and George Schaefer and all those other folks.
I always told Jack and his brother Bob, I'm glad you guys never went in the pizza business. They had Cincinnati Financial. They started out selling insurance in Price Hill. And, but they used to come in, and I didn't realize they were as big as they were until one day I took a ride out to Fairfield out there somewhere.
Yeah, that was
Saw that
Fairfield.
building, I said, wow.
The other thing, do you ever get involved with Lord's Gyms?
Well, they're more like a Bible study
Yeah,
group.
that's religious,
Yeah,
yes.
they use the gym as a hook to get the guys in to read the Bible to them, you know, which is fine.
Most of them are convicts, you know.
Converts or convicts?
Convicts.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
I was wondering if you ever did, because when you speak, you're so motivating. If
Oh,
you
am
ever
I?
go in who you are.
Are you single?
I can't be real quick. Sorry.
Oh, did you have-
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You would be so great talking to high school
I
kids.
do.
Do you do that?
Career day.
That's what I was wondering.
Career day, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do a career day, yeah. My price is right, I work cheap.
Yeah, well, you're very motivating, and it was nice
Well,
listening to you.
I
We're
speak-
Italian, and it was
speak
fun.
from my heart.
Well, it's very obvious, but a lot of things that you said, we've lived that too, so it made
Yeah.
it really, yeah. He was always at the Aaron Pryor fights.
Well, Aaron was an exceptional athlete, there'll never be another one of him.
Pound for pound. he was
Awesome.
great.
Awesome. But he got into drugs, the entourage,
Oh, yeah.
20, 30 people all the time. After he retired, I said, I don't want any more pros, I'm just going to concentrate on the little kids. Hope they can grow up and find their niche in life. Most of them don't have dads at home, you know.
Yeah, well, you're wonderful.
Great. I'm the one that's trying to get him to get a new sweatshirt.
The
Hey,
baby.
oh, the mayor, oh, okay. No, that's the part I
That's the first lady, yeah.
That's That's
see
the first
everybody.
lady there.
Please?
That's the first lady, the mayor's wife.
See, okay, fine. Now, you knew, who did I talk about?
Forrest.
Oh, Forrest Alexander.
Yeah, his wife. I ran the senior center.
Is she still alive?
Yeah.
Well, if you see her, tell her I said hello.
Yeah, she lives up at Otterbein.
Oh, does she now?
Yeah.
No, but Forrest was a great guy.
Yeah.
See, one of my past jobs, was resurrected. I remember, see when somebody treats you nice,
Yeah.
you remember them, you know? It doesn't cost you anything to be nice.
Well, then, you deserve a hug.
Oh, yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you, buddy.
Okay, Chief.
Thank you very much.
Guys?
More questions? Good job, buddy.
Thank you, sir.